House and the chairman of the Budget and Appropriation Committee that visited the new building. Chairman, you are aware that this building has taken years and years. This commission, the sixth commission, is committed to making that house be occupied. Mr. Chairman, when you look at the pending bills that have been there and that we presented to the same budget committee, Mr. Chair, there are some pending bills. And Mr. Chairman, we are glad that the same committee granted us 300 million. And now we are further seeking for 100 million that we have indicated that 100 million will come from the vote 2042. So Mr. Chairman, as the Speaker had communicated that we are not in contravention of the same. So Mr. Chairman, that's why we felt we should put this amendment so that we have more money. Mr. Chairman, you realize some of our members don't have offices. And by adding this money and paying the pending bills for the various contractors, we will be able to make that Bunge Tower occupiable, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Chairman, I am sure even the Honorable Latande, who was very fundamental in making PSC get this money, and the chairman, they are aware that we cannot keep on keeping that house unoccupied. Mr. Chairman, it's upon this house to make it possible that we occupy that building. And I want to assure you members that by the end of April, that house will be habitable, it will be occupiable, and our members will have their offices there, and our staff will have their offices there. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very well. Let me hear from the chair.
Thank you very much, Chair. And for the comfort of members, this is just the PSC reorganizing their own budget. They have reorganized their own votes, and therefore they are not encroaching on any other votes or any other person's budget or any other MDA's budget. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair, we had the opportunity to interact with the PSC, with the leadership of the member for Mavoko, and we put them into task that once then we grant, because we actually granted additional resources, then this issue of the Bunge Towers must now become a thing of the past. They must now put up their socks, they make sure all the pending works are done, and the members should occupy that house as soon as it is practically possible, so that we save ourselves of the recurrent costs, Mr. Speaker, that we pay offices outside of the precincts of Parliament, and so that, Mr. Speaker, the members of this House can get decent offices. That is the essence, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman.
On Bokose, let me give you the last chance before we put the question. Bokose.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, looking at the reorganization, it does not incur an extra cost. But what I want to say is that this process of building the new tower, it is actually taken very long. And it's an embarrassment as a house that we provide oversight to other institutions, to have our own institution taking that long and tracking on with the bending bills and becoming a cash cow, maybe for other people. I think it's a right, and one time, Honorable Chair, some of us felt that the Facility and Improvement and Facility and Services Committee should be the committee that oversights the Parliamentary Service Commission for proper efficiency. Because if every institution of government has agreed that we should be subjected to oversight and they are transparent, then I think it's a high time that the Parliamentary Service Commission becomes also transparent, and it should be oversighted by a committee of this House. I raise my case, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. Onelachi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to add on it and to appreciate the budget chair, but also to just tell our House that indeed it is time, first of all, Mr. Speaker, we ask the Commission to stop any other project and to now finalize with the monies that they are being given to finalize that tower and to give us dignity, so that also people don't just question. We have the pension towers here that was finished that only spent 2 billion to finalize. It is unfair for members, for their welfare, and more important, for the image of Parliament, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, as we conclude on this matter, let me allow Hon Wilberforce Oundo, very briefly.
Chair, I totally agree they need to finalize the building, the tower, but I hope in the fullness of time, Parliament or Parliamentary Service Commission will review all the leases and all the expenditures on rent so that we don't continue losing money that we could have used for more fundamental functions or mandate of the National Assembly. But tellingly, Honorable Speaker, and I think this is a matter that Parliamentary Service Commission needs to pick up, and the chair can also pick up, there has been continued complaint that the building belonging to National Chamber of Industry and Commerce was appropriated, so to speak, by the National Assembly or Parliament. It has never used the building, and they have never paid any rent. Are we facing a situation we are going to have an extremely high case of pending bill? I think that's a matter that needs to be addressed in fullness of time, so that as we reorganize the sitting arrangement and the space for Parliament, we put this matter to rest, that we are not confronted with another huge pending bill in the next budget. Thank you, Chair.
Lastly, attorney, right of reply. Let me hear from you.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, Honorable Pukose has spoken for me. But what I wanted to say, Chair, is that members need beautiful offices in which they need to operate and serve Kenyans. But, Chair, we need to question PSC. That one, they are running so many programs. They start new programs before they finish the ones that are already ongoing. And the case in point is this case of our tower. This tower is been going on for many years, and this house has appropriated a lot of money for it. And we don't want PSC members to come before the House and ask for money, and there's no accountability. Therefore, I want to say that as I support that amendment, I want to urge PSC that they must account for the resources that we have given them, and especially to Budget Committee and also to this House. And also, Chair, this is also the opportunity that members have to interrogate PSC. So even if they want money, we need to ask them what they have done with the previous monies. In the Budget Committee, we had very many questions which were not answered, Chair. So even as we approve and I support, we need clear answers on some of the resources they have. We don't want PSC that is only traveling and spending per diems and not giving this House answers on programs. Thank you, Chair. I support.
Very well, I put the question that Schedule 1 be amended as proposed by Hon Macau. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that Schedule 1 be amended, as amended, be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Second schedule.
Second schedule. I propose the question that the second schedule be part of the bill. Mover? Chairman? Chair? Second schedule.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and I wish to propose the amendments as they appear on the order paper.
I propose the question that the second schedule be amended as proposed by the chair. I put the question that the second schedule be amended as proposed by the chair. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now Oh, there's another amendment. Very well. Hon Macau.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I've listened to the concerns of members, but I urge these members, Mr. Chairman, to give us a benefit of doubt. This is a new commission. And Mr. Chairman, as I said, we are committed and actually we are at the tail end of concluding this building. And Mr. Chair, therefore, I wish to amend the second schedule as it appears on the order paper, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Very well. I propose the question that Schedule 2 be amended as proposed by Hon Macau. I see Hon Ochieng.
No, thank you so much, Chair, and thank you, the Budget Committee Chair, for a good job, to the PSC for finally saying they want to finalize. I just wanted to ask the Chairperson that as they do so, spare even 5 million shillings only to give us a place to walk from. Because walking from the case, from Cope Bank into Continental House is difficult. We can't walk there. I mean, as you do that, make the life of members of parliament a bit easier. You can't brush our shoes 7 times in a day, because if you go to your office in Continental House when you leave, or you go to the gym when you leave, by the time you get to parliament, you are so dusty and all that. So as you do the offices, make sure that even the walkways are done so that we're able to, I mean, some dignity for members. Thank you.
Interventions here. Nikal. Hon Nikal.
Again, as I support this, and the chair of the Budget and Appropriation Committee and the other committees, they have done a good job, except now we are having a lot of generalities. You are actually increasing a budget by 100 million, and you say we are increasing because we want to get the work done. Surely, this is the time you say we are going to say buy furniture, and we are needed this money, and this is what we are going to do. And now you say this another 100 million here. Say exactly why the need was seen. I don't think in the committee they just sat and said, I think we need 100 million. There must have been something that was needed to be done. And in order to guide the House, like in this case, what exactly did we want to do with this 100 million?
Very well. On Wachira Karani, Laikipia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to intervene. I declare my interest. I'm the chair of Services and Facilities in Parliament, National Assembly. Our committee is the one that is supposed to oversight the Parliamentary Service Commission. But you have realized, Mr. Chairman, whenever we as a committee are supposed to do our work, Parliamentary Service Commission comes here and gives a statement. Like this afternoon, when the substantive speaker was on the chair, members complained about crossing over to the offices on the other side. But
proceed, but you are being challenged on the relevance of your contribution. Yes. Proceed.
Thank you very much. So I was saying it is important that the speaker gives a ruling on the boundaries between the Services and Facilities Committee and the Welfare section of the Parliamentary Service Commission. I support.
Very well. Let's hear Hon Githinji. Hon Githinji.
Thank you.
Githinji.
Thank you, Chair. Though it is within the mandate of the PSC to reorganize their floats, Mr. Chair, it's also very important for them to support with facts and to tell this House whether the amount that they are requesting now will be adequate to completely finish the House, so that we don't have another figure coming up from somewhere in the main budget, so that we can finish the issue of the tower once and for all in this supplementary budget.
Very well. Finally on this, Engineer Paul Nzengu.
Thank you, Chairman. Much as we appreciate that this is a new commission, I think this building has taken far too long, and there's a lot of money that has already been pumped in. So we need the new commission to do an audit and report to the House the state of affairs, because we are privy to information that there could be some technical issues that are causing the delay of the completion. But I support.
Finally, Honmeli on this.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to put a point on this, especially on the Parliamentary Service Commission. It has taken them far too long, about over 10 years, almost 15 years before the building is up. We need actually them to come up with a statement showing what are the costs and if the building is going to be finished. Two, let it be finished on time so that actually we can settle there. Many of us are still not out there in rental offices, and yet you have not paid for our rent. And this is actually a problem, because right now the people who are asking for rent are actually, we normally bring the bill to the Parliamentary Service Commission and it's not yet paid. Can we have it done on time? Thank you.
Thank you. I now put the question. That Schedule 2 be amended as proposed by Hon Macau. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as Very well. I propose the question that the title be part of the title of the bill. I put the question that the title be the title of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 1.
I propose the question that Clause 1 be part of the bill. I now put the question that Clause 1 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Very well, members, and thank you very much. We are through. I now call the mover to report.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chairperson, I beg to move that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Supplementary Appropriations Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2023, and its approval thereof with amendments.
Very well. I put the question, which is that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Supplementary Appropriation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2023, and its approval thereof with amendments. I now put the question that as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Chairman. Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the Whole House has considered the Supplementary Appropriation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2023, and approved the same with amendments.
Thank you. The mover.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. I also request Honorable Dr. Pukose to second the motion for agreement with the report of the Committee of the Whole House.
Honorable Pukose.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I second.
Honorable members, I propose the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. I now put the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Mover.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the Supplementary Appropriation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2023, be now read at that time. I also request Honorable Murugara to second.
Honorable Speaker, I do second.
Honorable members, I propose the question, which is that the Supplementary Appropriation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2023, be now read a third time. I now put the question, which is that the Supplementary Appropriation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2023, be now read a third time. Will as many of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to authorize the issue of certain sums of money out of the consolidated fund and their application towards the service of the year ending on the 30th June 2023, and to appropriate those sums for certain public services and purposes.
Thank you. Next. Honorable members, we have now finished the appropriations bill. Now I will, given the number of members who showed support for Honorable Mwalio's motion of adjournment, I will stay the next order, which is a continuing debate on the proposal to amend the Constitution, and move the House to start the debate on the motion of adjournment. I also want to encourage members that the subject matter that the Honorable Mwalio is bringing to the floor is highly emotive, definitely divisive, and I want to encourage all of you who want to contribute and who will contribute to moderate your language and speak on the matter with sobriety, maintaining the dignity of this House. And that being the case, then we will be guiding the country accordingly. No unnecessary passions, no unnecessary emotions, and let's avoid any unnecessary altercations between members. Honorable Mwalio.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to move this motion by giving a background of the events the Supreme Court having okayed a plea as requested by the National Gay and Lesbian Human Rights Commission, NGIHRC, that the latter be registered as NGO by the NGO Coordination Board, whom and contested the request for registration due to some obvious violation of reflected in the penal code and such other acts, including but not limited to the NGO Coordination Act and the Sexual Offences Act 3 of 2006. Since the decision was pronounced, there has been a public outcry regarding the moral course we are taking as a country. Our principles, norms, values, and the practices have never been anchored on undefined and uncharacterized sexual orientation for as long as our existence can be traced and documented. It is prudent to note and appreciate that all acts of unnatural sex acts and associations have been criminalized in the Penal Code Chapter 63 Laws of Kenya, as further read with the Sexual Offences Act number 3 of 426. The ruling by the Apex Court presents an unforeseen avenue to open a floodgate of unprecedented acts and activities where groups and associations are likely to register their associations, citing existence of the very right exercised by the National Gay and the Lesbian Human Rights Commission. The same shall be cited as a legal procedure to argue reasonable grounds for such a registration. In April 2nd, 2013, the National Gay and Lesbian Human Rights Commission, NGLHRC, attempted to reserve a name for registration as an NGO with the NGO Coordination Board, but the names were deemed unacceptable. In April 2013, after 3 attempts to change the name, National Gay and Lesbian Human Rights Commission sought services of an advocate and filed a petition at the High Court of Kenya, petition number 44 of 2013. In April 24, 2015, the High Court of Kenya delivered the first judgment from a 3-judge bench confirming freedom of association for people of diverse identities and expanding Article 27 of the Constitution to include non-discrimination of people. In April 2015, the NGO Coordination Board appealed the court decision at the Court of Appeal after they failed dissatisfied by the High Court findings. In March 29, 2019, the Court of Appeal dismissed Civil Appeal number 145 of 2019 and thus confirmed the right of association for LGBTQ people. Therefore, thereafter, the NGO Coordinator Board appealed the Court of Appeal decision to the Apex Court, the Supreme Court. February 24, 2023, just the other day, the Supreme Court of Kenya affirmed the decision of the High Court and the Court of Appeal to allow the registration of National Gay and Lesbian Human Rights Commission as an NGO with the words gay and lesbian in its title. In conclusion, if this matter is unmitigated, we risk to inject bad morals in the society to the unfounded natural basis. This poses even greater danger to the schools-going children who are at high risk to adopt lifestyles which are erratic and contrary to their upbringing. In conclusion, the Bible says in the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 27 to 28, when God joined a man and a woman, he told them, multiply and fill the earth. Now, the question is, a man and a man, are they going to multiply and fill the earth? A woman and a woman, are they able to give birth and multiply as the Bible has said? Therefore, I want to move this so that we can be able to debate and advise this country and the people that elected us that we are not together with this judgment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Mwalio. So that we can get the perspective of the other religion, may we have Honorable Mishi Mboko, the MP for Likoni and Commissioner.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Chair wa Speakers Panel. Mimi nataka kuunga mkono Mheshimiwa kwa sababu ya kuleta hoja hii. Na hoja hii naona imezua tumbo joto sana katika nchi yetu kwa sababu imeweza kugusa mambo ya maadili yetu sisi kama Waafrika na sisi kama Wakenya, sisi kama Wakristo, sisi kama Waislamu na hata zile dini za kijamii. Kwa hakika sisi tunaheshimu mahakama. Lakini kwa sababu tunaheshimu mahakama, hatuwezi pia kukubali hukumu ambazo zimetolewa ambazo zitaathiri jamii zetu. Tunajua hivi sasa kabla ya LGBT ama hawa wanaojiita LGBT kuweza kupata vibali vya kuweza kutengeza makundi yao na kuweza kutambulika katika taifa letu, kumekuwa na tetesi na athari nyingi sana za mambo haya ambayo yako kinyume na dini yetu na yako kinyume pia na tamaduni zetu. Kwa Wakristo najua katika Biblia tunajua habari za Sodomo na Gomora. Na katika Kiislamu pia katika Quran tumeona mambo ya Sodomo na Gomora. Sasa je, leo watu hawa tukiwapa kipao mbele cha kuwapatia nafasi ama kuwapatia jukwaa ambalo wanaweza kuendeleza mambo yao ambayo ni mambo maovu, mambo machafu, mambo ya dhambi. Je, taifa hili la Kenya tutakuwa tunasonga wapi? Taifa hili tumezungumzia ya kwamba lazima tuangalie takrimu za idadi ya Wakenya zinavyoendelea. Kwa sababu pia tumekumbwa na majanga mengi sana ya maradhi ya COVID, maradhi ya saratani na mambo mengi. Hivyo basi lazima tuangalie takrimu ya idadi yetu kupitia mazazi ama vile tunavyoweza kuongeza idadi ya Wakenya katika nchi yetu. Leo hii tunaambiwa ya kwamba watu hao watakuwa na uwezo wa kuwa na kundi lao, waweze kuendeleza hoja zao. Pengine swali tutauliza, wakiwa na makundi kama haya, hoja zao zitakuwa ni zipi? Swali litakuwa hoja zao ni kwamba sisi tumetengwa. Mumetengwa vipi? Wewe ukiwa Mkenya, ukiwa mke, ukiwa mume, haki zako zote za kimsingi ziko katika katiba na haki zako zimeangaliwa. Iwapo utasema ya kwamba tunataka makundi tutetee haki zetu, haki gani? Na kwangu mimi zitakuwa si haki, bali ni upotevu na ni madhambi makubwa sana ambayo tunataka kuyaidhinisha katika nchi hii. Tunajua makundi haya yamekuwa yakifanya kazi kisiri, yakiweza kufanya ile tunasema Kiingereza awareness, na wakifanya recruitment ama ile kuandikisha watu katika makundi yao ili kuwaingiza katika tabia potofu kama hizi. Leo tukiwapatia ruhusa muafaka ya kisheria ya kwamba tumewapatia nafasi muwe na makundi haya ama majukwaa haya na muweze kuzungumza mambo yenu ambayo mnayahitaji, je, taifa hili la Kenya tutaweza kuwa katika hali gani? Mimi nataka kumwona kiongozi wa taifa hili akiweza kuzungumzia swala hili na akiweza kulikemea swala hili, kama anavyosema yeye ni Mkristo ambaye ameshika dini sana. Na iwapo ni Mkristo kweli ameshika dini sana, tunataka kusikia sauti yake na tunataka kusikia sauti ya taifa zima la Kenya likikemea jambo hili. Tunajua tunazungumzia ya kuwa ulimwengu umebadilika na kwamba kuna mambo mengi sana lazima yawe yanabadilika, lakini hatutakubali kubadilika kiwango cha kwamba tutakwenda kinyume na dini yetu na tutakwenda kinyume na maadili yetu sisi kama taifa. Ukiangalia katiba yetu kuna sura ambayo imezungumzia maadili ya kitaifa. Je, katika maadili ya kitaifa mumeweza kuona mambo ya wasagaji na mambo ya mashoga? Pole, kwa sababu lugha hino pengine itakuwa ni lugha potofu, lakini ndivyo inavyoitwa Kiswahili. Kwa mwanamume itakuwa ni mashoga, kwa mwanamke itakuwa ni masago. Na tunajua watu hawa, na katika haya mambo wanayoyafanya ni mambo mabaya ambayo pia yanatuletea maradhi. Sasa haswa kwa wasagaji, mambo wanayotumia na vifaa wanavyotumia ni kuleta saratani za kizazi katika kina mama, na jambo hili hatutaweza haswa kulikubali. Na haswa iwapo watu wetu wataiga tabia hizi na ziwaingie katika nafsi zao, basi itakuwa mtoto wa kike hatapata mume wa kumuoa na mtoto wa kiume pia hatapata mke wa kumuoa, kwa sababu athari huanza polepole. Unapoona moshi ujue moto uko njiani waja, na wakati umefika moto. Je, tutaweza kuzima madhambi hayo? Watoto wa kiume tunawaenzi, watoto wa kike tunawaenzi. Ndiposa Mwenyezi Mungu alipomuumba Adam na akamtoa Hawa kutokana kwa Adam, ili tuweze kuzaa na tuweze kuweka ulimwengu wetu katika hali ya usawa. Jamani, tunataka kusikia sauti ya rais ikikemea jambo hili. Tunataka kusikia sauti za mawaziri na vitengo vyote vya serikali na wabunge wenzangu, tukemee jambo hili. Jambo hili likiwa, basi sisi tumeangamia na umma wetu umeangamia. Hatutaweza kuwa na watoto wa kike wala mtoto wa kiume, manake kama mtoto wa kiume atavaa kama mtoto wa kike, kama mtoto wa kiume atataka kujiiga mpaka tabia za kike ndo azifanye, je, sisi tutakuwa watoto wa kike na wa kiume? Hilo ni swala nyeti na tafakari ya babu. Tujiangalie, tujinasue, tujiulize kama taifa, hata kama tunataka kusaidika, lakini hatutaweza.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Mboko kwa maono hayo. Mheshimiwa Rindikiri Mugambi, mjumbe wa Buri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I study here as a Christian and one opposed to this movement, LGBTQ. I am very uncomfortable because our social fabric has been now attacked by an institution that we thought would put into consideration the survival of our generations. Mr. Speaker, what we have seen from the Supreme Court, tomorrow we will most likely get some human and animal movement, because there are some human beings with appetite for animals. They will also go to court. And if this being a case in court, it has sent some benchmarks. we should expect anything from our Supreme Court. Mr. Speaker, I join the other members because this is a very serious matter. They have no regard on survival of humanity in Kenya. This behavior is a foreign behavior. It's a behavior that is common in most affluent communities. It is not common in rural areas. It's not common in areas that we all know preach religion, whether Muslim or Christianity or Hindu. More than 90% of Kenyans worship God. This section of perpetrators of this funny behavior, they don't even constitute 0.00001% of our population. I thought from where we come from, the Chief Justice is a mother. The Chief Justice of Kenya is a mother. The justice in Supreme Court, they are fathers and brothers and sisters. We are asking, did they really do that, knowing for sure that this matter is going to generate a lot of heat in our circles? Mr. Speaker, I think time has come. We have to preserve our dignity as Kenyan. And we cannot allow, by whatever means, an institution in the name of Supreme Court that the judges are telling us you can proceed and do whatever sexual orientation that you have because there is human rights. I think there must be a limitation on human rights and association. I'm not a lawyer, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, you are a lawyer. But I'm sure in your understanding, that judgment did not take into consideration the implied expectations of majority of Kenyans. We ask that the Supreme Court reviews its judgment. We ask the Supreme Court to listen to the majority of Kenyans. We ask the Supreme Court to look at what the Constitution provides in terms of the human rights. This matter has been learned there for many years. It's only this Supreme Court, which are history of making funny judgment, they are brought to us. The Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, Mother Kome, please go back again and look at that. You have condemned our society. You have condemned our lives for our children. You are telling us any Kenyan can do anything. It's a shame. It's a shame. It's a shame. I am ashamed. I am ashamed by the decision of the Supreme Court. And we must condemn this. And we must, if there is anything that should bring us together, is this. I'm also waiting for Baba to make a comment on this.
Thank you, Honorable Indikiri, for urging everybody to make a voice on this, even as you do so. Honorable Wilberforce Oundo, MP for Funyula.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, thank you for my colleague for bringing up this motion on the floor of the House. Honorable Speaker, I'm a Catholic, born Catholic, and that I must declare my interest from the word go. And as Catholics, our dogma and the teaching is expressly clear on sexual orientation. There could be other Christian sects that have got a different view about this matter, but as our Catholic, that's my foundation. Starts from there. Honorable Speaker, in the book of Leviticus, it is written this way: If a man has sexual relationship with another man, they have done a disgusting thing, and both shall be put to death. They are responsible for their own death. It is no other way, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when you look at the Constitution of Kenya on the national values, it's expressly clear. And I want to read Article 11 on the culture, and it's very clear. This Constitution recognizes culture as the foundation of the nation and as the cumulative civilization of the people of Kenya and the nation. Honorable Speaker, what does our culture say? Our culture say a man shall leave his father's house and together with the woman they find, start a home. Our culture never contemplated and never talks of any other arrangement other than what is expected. Honorable Speaker, again in the same book of Leviticus, it says, if a man has sexual relations with an animal, he and an animal shall be put to death. Bad sexual habits or orientation are classified together. Honorable Speaker, whatever they're calling themselves, they are akin to bestialists. People who do bad manners, they would say, with animals. We categorize them as the same. Honorable Speaker, many of us were alarmed, were flabbergasted beyond recovery when we heard that Supreme Court ruling. And Honorable Speaker, we have been very suspicious of the current Supreme Court. And indeed, our fears have been confirmed. It is indeed, Honorable Speaker, probably might look at it the way the Supreme Court in the US is structured, so that we find a balance between alarmists, between members who simply want to destroy this society, and those of us who values the culture of the people of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, honestly speaking, I do not even understand it. There are some things that are beyond my understanding, regardless of my level of education and exposure. I cannot understand how a reasonable man, a sane man, can leave a beautiful woman. And if there's anything that God created, the best thing in this world, in the eyes of a man, was a woman. I cannot understand how a man can admire another man. I cannot understand, even look at the structure of the body of a woman, how a woman can admire another woman. I don't know what they do when they are together. Honorable Speaker, there are some things just don't understand. I'm not an advocate. Sir George is there. Truly, the Speaker is an advocate. You really have to guide us here. I'm just at a loss. I do not even know how to even talk to my grandchildren when they tell me that the Supreme Court has made some ruling. Honorable Speaker, we need divine intervention here. Unfortunately, some Christian denominations support this kind of deviant behaviors, and probably the Supreme Court and our young people are going to take cue. Allow man and a man to attend a wedding. May the Almighty God strike them dead before sunrise. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Does the Leader of Majority want to contribute? Proceed, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Yes, indeed, I want to contribute, Honorable Speaker, because this is a matter not just of faith, but also touches on our national morals, values, and our culture as a people. Let me just say from the onset, Honorable Speaker, I am a Presbyterian because I heard the member for Funyula say he's Catholic. I am member number 39 in Gikambura district of the Presbyterian Church of East Africa, the Reverend Musagetao Church. And Honorable Speaker, those who advance those things, I don't even want to mention them, Honorable Speaker, have their own countries and they have their own cultures. And we respect their cultures, and they must equally respect our cultures as African and as Kenyans. And nobody should imagine that you can force down the throats of Kenyans alien cultures that are alien to our nationality and our being African, Honorable Speaker. The issues, Honorable Speaker, that the Supreme Court was addressing itself to, and I really want to avoid going for the Supreme Court in any manner because they have a duty and an obligation under the law to interpret the Constitution in the best way they think it should be interpreted. And I think even in the Supreme Court, opinion was varied. It's only that the majority decision had their say, but the minority also had, majority had their way, but the minority also in the Supreme Court had their say. And I want to identify myself with the opinion and the views of the minority in the Supreme Court, Honorable Speaker. That we shall not allow and we must never allow our country to take up alien ideas, alien cultures, because we are a country that tends to copy a number of few things, good things, few from those other cultures. Honorable Speaker, our laws are quite clear. Our penal code still has outlawed issues to do with homosexuality. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, it was absurd that a good number in the Supreme Court did find it fit to allow a habit or something that is already outlawed under our laws, that you could now allow people to associate. What happens tomorrow, Honorable Speaker, if all the pickpockets in our streets decide now that they have rights as pickpockets and they want to form the Association of Nairobi Street Pocket Thieves, or even robbers, bank robbers? Tomorrow, robbers may decide that we have certain rights under the Constitution, the right to association. But, Honorable Speaker, the Constitution also says that your rights are limited.
Majority Leader, would that be the Bank Robbers Association of Kenya region?
It could be the Bank Robbers Association of Kenya, or rapists. Tomorrow, you may find rapists saying that we are the Association of Rapists of Kenya, and we have the right to do whatever we want to do with whoever we want to do it, Honorable Speaker. And they could argue that out in a court of law and say they are guaranteed of their right to association and freedom of association, Honorable Speaker. But we must also know that our Constitution also limits everybody's rights, and especially where your rights also, in a way, overstepped to interfere with my rights. And we have also to enjoy our religious rights, our rights to worship, our rights to our own cultures. We must protect our rights. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, as leader of majority in this House, for the time the Almighty God grants me the opportunity to serve this country as leader of majority, I will not allow, and I said elsewhere, I will mobilize this House and any other House in this Republic to ensure that we protect the laws that have outlawed homosexuality, lesbianism, and all those other things that are abominable under our culture and our religions, Honorable Speaker. And we must protect our cultures, Honorable Speaker, and our being as a people. If there is anything I agree with our good friend, President Yoweri Museveni.
Give him 1 minute, he's the majority leader.
I was saying, Honorable Speaker, if there is anything I support President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni on, is on the issue of LGBT. Honorable Speaker, I will not go to the extreme in how you deal with them, but we must be forthright as a nation to protect our own cultures, our religion, and our beliefs. And we must not allow those countries from the West who believe in those things, let them believe in whatever they want to believe in, but they must not force us to believe in the things they believe in. They must also respect our culture, our religion, and the things we believe in, but not shove things down our throats, that things we don't believe in. And we want to raise up our children in an upright country, in an upright society, Honorable Speaker, where our children will enjoy to grow the way we grew up, with morals, with good ethics, Honorable Speaker, and in a country that we can all be proud to raise our kids in, Honorable Speaker. With that, I support the Honorable Mwalio and this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Honorable Farah Malim.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know where the world is going to. Mr. Speaker, this is abominable. It's a decadent, it's an obnoxious behavior. I wish I had Babu Owino here to give me all those adjectives that he normally uses for these things. Mr. Speaker, those people are dead as human beings who support such things. In my faith, as a Muslim, the death penalty is what they deserve, people who engage in such things. And I'm proud of that. And I don't care what somebody else feels. The West has never been a moral authority. These are the people who came and enslaved us. And they came and colonized us. And they came and treated us like animals. And now they want to tell us to behave like animals. The next thing that's going to come up...
Honorable Farah Malim, which animals engage in homosexuality?
No, you're right, you're right. I'm sorry. I withdraw that bit. I withdraw that bit in the interest and the respect for the animal kingdom. The animal kingdom never engages in that. But the next thing they're going to tell us is that somebody has a right. A man has a right to marry a woman. They want to tell us that a woman has a right, to marry another man, or a woman has a right to marry a woman. What do two women who are married do? What is there? God has created a man and a woman. It's there in all the Abrahamic scriptures. It's in Islam. It's in Christianity. It's in Judaism. If we allow them to take over our lives, we have allowed them for far too long for them to exploit us and to dehumanize us as human beings. On this, we will say no. If they're going to come up with the travel, restrictions, keep your country, keep your cultures, keep your nonsense to yourselves. And I'm talking to the West in this case here. Mr. Speaker, the Supreme Court itself does not make laws, it interprets the laws. You're a legal mind, I'm a legal mind. Sodomy is a crime in our books. So how should they come about now and tell us that they should be allowed to associate? The right to association. As you had said, the majority leader has said, this is like saying the right of association of the bank robbers, of the murderers, of the killers. In the US, there are a number of states that have got the death penalty. And the death penalty is for crimes like murder. And the biggest number of people who are on the death rows are fellow blacks. In the US. And in Texas and a number of other states where they have Republican governors, they execute them. We cannot go there and tell them, don't take away life. They will tell you, these are our laws. Mr. Speaker, not only shall we come with a motion of censure on the Supreme Court itself for trying to legislate from the bench, instead of interpreting the laws of the country, they want to legislate from the bench by trying to look politically correct with the Western world. They do not deserve to sit as a bench. There is need for us to bring a motion on here to ask them, where did you get this piece of legislation? Here is the act that criminalizes homosexuality. We must take them to task on that. As for us, I am of the opinion that we should pass a capital punishment on such offenses. Capital punishment, Mr. Speaker. They have their own capital punishment on murderers, on other people, most of them are blacks who have been framed in the US, and we cannot interfere in their laws. They go on killing those people there because they say they committed murders. Here we are telling them this thing is worse than murder for us in our cultures as Africans, as black people, as a... Mr. Speaker, can you give me 1 more minute as a ranking member and the former deputy speaker? Or 2 minutes for me, actually. And we have a right.
Honorable Farah Malim, the speaker has not spoken.
Oh, okay.
You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we take charge of our own destiny. We take charge of our own. They are going to legalize marijuana. They have legalized, what do you call anything? Very soon they're going to legalize the drugs that are going to destroy our generations and children in here. It is, in my very humble opinion, that we take charge of our countries. We are independent. We are a sovereign state. We have our cultures. Our cultures do not conflict. African cultures on some of these fundamental issues are the same. It doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or a Muslim or you're a traditionalist. We all have a common culture on such things. It's my opinion, my humble opinion, that we should change that piece of act itself and prescribe capital punishment for people who can be proven to have engaged in this kind of things. When I say capital punishment, Muslims, where there's a serious Islamic states who follow their own scriptures, they carry out capital punishment on them. They do not deserve to live. In my opinion, humble opinion. They should be, yes, indeed. The next thing they're going to come to us is say that one has to be has the right to marry a dog, or one has the right to marry an ape, or anything. Just imagine a day in which somebody will come and say that this goat is my wife, or this what you call ram is my husband, and this is my right of association. I've chosen to have this as a husband, and a woman will come. That is the direction in which they're going. We're not going to be part of that. The earlier we put our foot down, they give us nothing. They only take away things from us. The earlier we put our foot very hard down and say, on this, no, the better. And I commend such countries like the president of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni, the president of Malawi. Of course, Mugabe was one guy who called out these things many years back and told them, these are nations of gays and what do you call lesbians, and these are not people that we can talk to. It's something we frown upon. We see them as subhumans. How does a subhuman tell you what to do and how to live in your own lives? So we must be able to stand on our own grounds as a continent, as the leaders. We are the leaders of this country. That should never be allowed. They should never, ever be allowed to bring this decadent, obnoxious, un-African culture. Support.
Thank you, Honorable Farah Malim. The chair of Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, the Honorable Gitonga Murugara, the MP for Tharaka.
Thank you.
Is in the house now that we are talking about the Supreme Court, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, allow me to also voice my concerns about this decision. And from the outset say we are not, as a house, attacking the Supreme Court. But we are expressing a totally differing opinion with what they rendered. That we speak, we may not speak as a court, but we speak on behalf of our own people who have elected us to represent them here. And therefore, our voice is the voice of the people, while their voice was actually the voice of the court. Mr. Speaker, I agree with the sentiments expressed by yourself and others that this is a decision that should not be left to stand in our books. We should move with speed, bring together the Supreme Court judges, the 7 of them, and let them listen to us as lawyers as we urge them to review the decision and set it aside. We know very well we cannot compare law with morality, but sometimes moral issues supersede the law. In fact, in most cases where the law becomes repugnant to morality, then that is extremely bad law and should be done away with. It is quite clear from our books that some of these things in LGBTQ are actually outlawed. And therefore, anything associated with those characters cannot be allowed to stand against the morals of the people of Kenya. Whether it's sodomy, whether it's lesbianism, whether it's queerness, whether it is anything that is outward practiced by these characters who say they have human rights. They may have their rights in private, and I'm sorry, I shiver and shudder when I imagine what they do in private, because it is totally repugnant, especially to us Africans. It's also important to condemn those who come with these ideas. And this is why today we celebrate the president of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni. We celebrate the late Robert Mugabe of Uganda. And sometimes it actually appears Idi Amin himself was a saint, because these are the things he was condemning those days, in spite of being incited by these same Europeans and Americans to kill a few Ugandans. Therefore, we as Africans must stand up. We must stand to be counted. We must tell these Europeans and Americans that for the little money they are enticing us with, I'm told they're even offering relief food to Kenyans so that you can legalize things like this one. They have been approaching our organizations, including the Kenya National Human Rights Commission, offering tokens so that they can promote rights of such characters. Thank heavens, these commissions and these organizations have said no to their little tokens. Let them keep their bad habits in Europe, in America. Let us, as Africans, keep what we consider to be morally upright and suitable for our society. For example, look at these people who are telling us today, these are human rights. They are the ones who came here, and the first thing they did was to point out that Africans do not marry out of love, but do purchase wives because they are polygamous. What is better compared to the two? Polygamy and such queerness they are advancing to us. Polygamy actually has nothing right, nothing wrong in terms of morals. It's upright. It should have been encouraged. Number two, they are the ones also who came along and told us that you people, you don't know how to live. Your customary laws are repugnant to justice and morality, and what have you. Those are the laws that had kept us Africans within the fabric of a good family, which we have maintained to date. Therefore, this judgment, this ruling, should actually be re-examined through a review. And if the review is denied, rest assured, as a house, we will move to outlaw everything they have done, because we have power to do so. I support the adjournment motion.
Thank you, Honorable Patrick Makau. Are you on intervention, or you want to contribute?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Speaker, I cannot add more. Most speakers have spoken. The first question you should ask, this parliament, we are the most important arm of this government. Mr. Speaker, we cannot allow the courts to legislate from their benches. Mr. Speaker, Article 11 is very explicit about respecting African traditions and cultures. Mr. Speaker, when I see the Supreme Court, which supposedly is supposed to be constituted of men and women, well-learned, cannot lead this country to making us believe that lesbians, gays, queers, and those likes are supposed to be given end space in this country. Mr. Speaker, that is not African, it is an African, and there is no religion which ascribes to any of those. Mr. Speaker, it's high time this parliament expressed itself in all ways, in all media houses, in barazas, Mr. Speaker. We must condemn that ruling by the Supreme Court. And Mr. Speaker, it's high time the Attorney General of this country went to appeal this ruling, because those 5 judges who passed this kind of judgment, Mr. Speaker, he favored a group of people that is going to encourage other groups. Mr. Speaker, then we should have the Mungiki, we should have Al-Shabaab, we should have rapists, we should have murderers, allowed then by the same Supreme Court to form alliances, to form associations. Mr. Speaker, when I look at that bench, none of them is less than 40 years. Mr. Speaker, what are they telling our young children? What are they telling the generations? Mr. Speaker, I'm now been made to believe that the former president of USA, Donald Trump, did not support this. Neither is Museveni. Mr. Speaker, I agree with speakers here who are saying we should not just be made slaves because we need funding from the West. Mr. Speaker, this thing of us being told before we are given money from IMF, from World Bank, we must admit, we must accept these laws. This is strange to us. Mr. Speaker, we must tell them, I know they force us GMOs, and we know the reason why they did that. Mr. Speaker, now they are here telling us we should have a man and a man marry each other. Mr. Speaker, I can't imagine myself seeing a man and having a hard-on. Mr. Speaker, that is against African tradition. I must see a woman and feel like that. Mr. Speaker, I am a watcher and I'm a fan of National Geographic, which has documentaries. You see male animals being attracted to females, fighting to death. I've never seen a male animal raising to satisfy itself sexually on another male animal. So what are they telling us, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, this country, and I want to hear the leadership of this country speak against this. In fact, Mr. Speaker, I think the president of this country should write immediately to the Attorney General to appeal this ruling. It cannot be bearable. Yes, Kenya is a Christian nation. It has Muslims. It has all denominations. But Mr. Speaker, our constitution is supreme. Article 11 explicitly said it. The Ashpal guy spoke about it, his commission, the bombers 1 and 2, they were against this. How can we then, 2023, admit the gays and lesbians of this world to rule this country? Mr. Speaker, on this seat where I sit from, I am telling people who I represent from Mavoko, if you see gays and lesbians, tell them to be wary of me, because I'm going to tell you what you are going to do with them. So are Kenyans. We cannot allow that, Mr. Speaker. We must condemn this ruling by all means, even if it means us calling those judges to apologize to Kenyans and say they judged and they ruled when they were not sober, Mr. Speaker. Then is when we are going to agree with their ruling. However, Mr. Speaker, this House has a role to legislate and make laws that befit this country. Let's not forget our mandate. Let us stand by the virtues and...
Honorable Joanna Ngino.
Speaker, thank you also for allowing me to ventilate on this. I just want to say from the onset that Article 1 of the Constitution, which talks about the supremacy of the Constitution and supremacy of the people, when it talks about the supremacy of the Constitution, it says clearly that this Constitution is supreme to any other law. And no law, including customary law, is superior to the Constitution. And any other law that is actually trying to supersede the Constitution is null and void. Mr. Speaker, when you talk about the customary law, it is the same as talking about any other law that is created in this House. We are the people who do the laws of this land. We amend the laws, we create the laws, but if that law goes against the Constitution of this country, Mr. Speaker, it is declared null and void. Same case with the laws which are made by the courts, whether it is a magistrate's court, whether it is a high court, whether it is a Supreme Court, whether it is a court of appeal. Whenever they pass any judgment, most of their judgments are deemed to be precedences, and they are used in courts or other courts as a law. So, Mr. Speaker, the ruling by the Supreme Court, whichever way it was, has gone against the Constitution, Article 11. And therefore, it means that judgment which was made by the Supreme Court is null and void because it is against the Constitution. And there is nothing else we can say about it. We will still consider in this House that that law never existed. That judgment was never made. We just consider it as if there was nothing done. As if the Supreme Court judges, if there was 6, if there was 7, they sat in vain. Whatever the decision they made in that particular judgment, it was done in vain. Because Article 11 is very clear. No same-sex marriage is allowed in this country. No same-sex relationship is allowed in this country. No same-sex penetration is allowed in this country, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, when these particular courts declare or presume to be making a declaration that they are making a judgment, they are giving a ruling that we allow these people to have a relationship, we allow these people to look at one another, we allow these people to have some association. Mr. Speaker, that is going contrary to the Constitution. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I would want to say, just like what my senior said, do we need to tell these judges to revoke? Do we need to create what we call review? Or do we need to pass in this House, Mr. Speaker, because there was, and I don't want to preempt, there is an intention by a member to pass a law, to bring a law into this House, Mr. Speaker, that will illegalize any act of either association, either penetration, either marriage, on all these people who call themselves, I don't know, gay, I don't know, lesbians. Mr. Speaker, I think we will pass that law with Godspeed. And it will be now upon the courts to make a decision whether that passage of that law or whether that law is against the Constitution. We are waiting for that time. We are really waiting, Mr. Speaker. And I don't know if some of these decisions are based on whatever these people want to give to our country. Some of us may not want to be beggars. Some of us may not want to sell our birthright. Some of us may not want to exchange our humanity with money. We want to tell the Supreme Court, read the Constitution, Article 11, same-sex marriage is illegal, same-sex association is illegal, same-sex penetration, Mr. Speaker, is illegal. I thank you very much.
Honorable Jackson Kosgei, nominated MP.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And I want to begin from the onset by saying the purpose of government is to protect the freedom of its people, the dignity of its people, and also the natural right to self-preservation. In that particular third one, we talked about family. Anytime we begin to redefine and weaken the position of family, we are endangering the very right and natural right to self-preservation as a community. The Supreme Court decision used its privilege to allow what has been known in the streets as the tyranny of minority over majority. The whole world and the population of the world, Mr. Speaker, is about 7.9 billion people, out of which 2.4 are Christian, 1.8 are Muslims. You talk about the Hindus, 1.3, Buddhists are 0.6, and the rest can follow. You can tell over 80% of the total population of the world believe in creation. They believe in heterosexual relationship. That is a relationship between a man and a woman. Not only for pleasure, love, and relationship, but for procreation and survival of the human race. If this has been done, and if the ruling by the Supreme Court becomes cast on the stone, then I don't think it can overturn our Constitution. We are going to invoke "we the people." And this house is a house which is an arm of government. If it is the arm of government, when such situation happens, which is endangering the very survival of our people, then we must take this to referendum, where the people of Kenya will have an opportunity to speak. We cannot be dictated on by a civilization on its lowest ebb in history. Finally, Mr. Speaker, we want to look at it from the impact of this particular exercise. They want to have the whole world accepting it. All the Caucasians in the world at the moment are facing the danger of being a minority in the world because of population growth, which has dwindled. Now, you can see in the next 30 years or 40, trajectory shows that the population of Europe will be very low, that it will take Africa, which is growing, and Eastern Europe to take up, to be able to carry on what they are doing. Is this what they want to import into Africa and the rest of the world to finish their population? We must say no as a matter of survival, as the representative of our people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Timothy Wanyonyi, the MP for Westlands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me a chance also to speak on this motion. Mr. Speaker, if I asked you, what do you call this thing in your mother tongue? Do we have it even described in African languages, how it's called? Because it doesn't exist, and it never existed. You remember in the history, the Mwanga of Uganda, those small boys used to be called pages. They used to be